guys. My name's Amanda. I'm here with my lovely mother.
Hi, I'm Janette.
And today we are going to be talking about Zootopia 2, which is very exciting. So the new Zootopia movie came out recently, and I saw it on the opening weekend. My mom actually did not come see it with me. Just the timing of things, she just wasn't able to come.
It's the first time we didn't go see a Disney movie before Thanksgiving together.
I know. Well, I did see Tron Ares. I guess that wasn't before Thanksgiving, but I did see Tron on you too. And we're going to see Avatar as well without you.
Our schedules, busy.
But I saw Zootopia 2. So I did rewatch the first Zootopia the day before I saw the second Zootopia, which I'm glad I did because Zootopia 2 only takes place a little bit after the first movie. Oh, okay. So it is very continuous in that sense. Although there is, like, at the end of the first Zootopia movies, of course, we have our main character, Judy Hopps, and she's a little bunny who wants to become a police officer.
I remember the characters.
Becomes a police officer. She solves, like, the big, crime of the predator-prey thing that was going on. Then at the end, her friend Nick Wilde, who's the fox, he ends up going through the academy, and 6 months later, in the first movie still, then he becomes a police officer. And in Zootopia 2, it takes place 1 week after that. So in theory, it's about 6 months after that first case that they solved together. But after the first movie, it's only about 1 week. And now Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps are partners in the police academy.
Huge.
So let's go into some background of the movie real quick. So this is a 2025 animated buddy cop movie produced by Walt Disney Animation Studios. I want to point out because it is not a Pixar film. I feel like a lot of people think it is Pixar, but it's not. It's Disney Animation Studios. It stars many of the returning cast from the first film, such as Jennifer Goodwin as Judy Hopps, Jason Bateman as Nick Wilde, Idris Elba as Chief Bogo, and it also introduces Keijo Kwan as Gary DeSnake, Fortune Femister as Nibbles Maplestick, and Andy Samberg as Paubert Linksley. So after the success of the first Zootopia, which grossed over $1 billion in 2016, there was immediate talk of doing a sequel. And I feel like that's something I always forgot about, that the first Zootopia was extremely successful.
It was.
Worldwide.
And anybody you ask about it, everybody says, oh, I love that movie.
It is. And it was extremely successful specifically in China. So in China, it grossed very high numbers. And that is part of the reason why it did go over $1 billion was because of the Chinese audience. And they also said too, so we're still, as of recording, we're still in the opening weekend of the movie right now. So the opening weekend numbers aren't done yet. But they did say that they anticipated this movie in China to be the largest box office opening post-COVID in China as a country, which is kind of wild if you think about it. But again, that's just how big Zootopia was in China as a country.
Well, they're all going to go see the sequel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, and even in America too, it's projected to be one of the biggest box office of 2025 as well. So, all right. So right after that success of the first movie in 2016, now we're 9 years later. But it wasn't until 2023 during a Q1's earning call that Bob Iger confirmed the sequel to be in development. So it did take a long time for them to confirm the sequel. People assumed there was going to be a sequel, but again, it just took a while. And then by April of 2024, Jennifer Goodwin confirmed on Instagram that she was back in the studio recording her lines as Judy Hopps. And then in August 2024 at the D23 Expo, they announced many of the new cast members that joined it for like the new characters. And then later that year, again, September 2024, Jared Bush, who's the director, was announced as the new chief creative officer of the film, as Jennifer Lee, who was the previous creative officer, left for Frozen 3. And that same day, Jared Bush also confirmed Brian Howard, who would be co-directing the film. And Brian Howard was also the original creator and director of the first movie. So a lot of the original people came back for Zootopia 2, which is pretty common. Then in November 2024, a lot happened in 2024. In November 2024, Shakira was announced that she would be returning as Gazelle with new music written by her, Ed Sheeran, and Blake Slatkin called Zoo. And the song is very good. All right. So while we are filming this, the movie is still in this box office weekend, but is projected to be very successful. And so far, there are very, very, very high critic accolades, right? So it scored a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 73 on Metacritic, and it got like an A on one of the other like scores. Okay. It's always interesting how they score these movies, right? Yeah, but it's projected to be one of the bigger ones for 2025, specifically the largest for animated films, but they are thinking it could maybe be, I don't know if it's going to be Wicked necessarily. I think Wicked still may be above it.
Yeah, Wicked is just...
Yeah, so I think Wicked may still be above this movie, so that's the only thing. But again, I feel like too, it's one of those things when you look at the Thanksgiving box office openings, Thanksgiving is kind of cheating to a sense, right? Because you technically get a second day because instead of opening on Thursday, it opens on Wednesday. Right. And then also all the kids are off from school. So like a lot of families will go have time to go to the movie theaters.
It depends on also how long they keep them out when you get towards Christmas.
Yeah, well, we're just talking about the opening box office. So again, for the opening box office for this weekend that we're still currently in, it's again, it's like they have a bigger advantage to make more for the opening box office, which is why most studios will put their big movies this weekend, right? Because they know they'll have the bigger chance.
They're going to have the audiences.
Which is funny because, for instance, I think Scream 7 is coming out in February. And I remember I texted my friend Shannon, who's a big movie person. I was like, why is that movie coming out in February? And she's like, well, that's where they usually slate the movies they don't think will do well in February. So especially like a horror film coming out in February, it's like, yeah, it's projected not to do well. So they just shoved it in like another time slot rather than doing like the Halloween time slot or like, a better time slot for it. But I just thought that was funny. So for instance, this is like any movie coming out Thanksgiving weekend is projected to be one of the big movies movies. Or again, they've spent so much money for it that it's like they want to make the money back. Like Thanksgiving and Christmas, of course, are the two big ones. So at least for the fall, then of course summer movies are also big. But all right, let's just get to my quick overall thoughts before we hop into the plot of this movie. So overall thoughts, I did love the movie. I thought it was so fun. I thought it was really good. I honestly, when I watched the movie and when I was making my notes, I feel like I forgot a lot of the movie because I wasn't really taking notes in my mind when I was watching it. I was just having a good time. And then after the movie, it was just like, well, I forgot a lot of the funny things that happened in the movie. But again, I thought it was really fun. There is a lot of fun Easter eggs throughout the entire movie overall. It's really hard to catch in the first time. And even Jared Bush was on Twitter, like tweeting about he's excited for people to like, basically to watch it like on Disney Plus on streaming to like pause throughout it so you can really see the background and all the things they kind of shoved in the back corners of the movie. Because there were definitely things where they'd open a newspaper, there'd be like a big scene, you'd see like a wider shot of, you know, of certain areas. And it's like, oh, I'm missing a lot of fun stuff that's probably on the screen right now. But when you see the first time, it's just going all so fast.
Okay. Can't wait
and
to
you're
see
following
that.
it for the plot too the first time, right? Because you don't know what the plot is going to be.
Right.
Whereas the second time, you know the plot, so you can start paying attention to those background things a little bit more fun. So I think that's really fun too. And again, one of the most notable Easter eggs that's throughout the whole film that was released actually before it, because they did a snippet of it, was that Judy and Nick run through a kitchen in one scene, and as they run through the kitchen, they knock a hat off a lion, and then there's a little mouse sitting on the lion's head like in Ratatouille, and which is a very clear call out. And then there's another character, I forget what the animal is, but a famous chef voices that character, and he was like, I knew it when he sees a little mouse on the lion's head. It's so funny though. Okay. So again, a lot of little nods like that throughout the whole film to other Disney films. And it's funny because again, going back real quick, that this is not a Pixar film, it's a Disney Animation Studios film. So at the very end of the movie, we're just jumping ahead, there is something that says like this film was produced by all of the Disney animation animators. And there was some criticism towards Wish, which came out a few years ago, because Wish was that movie that was supposed to celebrate the 100 years of the Disney Animation Studios. But a lot of people were feeling like this movie really was the movie that is celebrating the Disney Animation Studios.
Because it had everybody and everything.
It has a lot more Easter eggs in it, a lot more callbacks.
Right.
You know, it's like a lot of the animators actually really worked on it and stuff. It's in the classic animation style that Disney has been doing, where Wish experimented with a new animation style, which is interesting to say the least. So yeah, so it was just interesting. And again, of course, as we all know, Wish did not do very well overall in the box office.
It's a shame because it was a really nice
It was a very
movie.
cute movie, but I would say Zootopia 2 probably is better in my opinion. But again, just my opinion though overall. But all right, let's get into the actual plot of the movie. So I just have some notes here to just go through. So again, Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde are official ZPD, Zootopia Police Department partners. I'm going to say ZPD a lot because it's going to play a big role in this film. So in the very beginning of the movie, they make a huge mess throughout the city trying to catch this bad guy. So Chief Bogo, who's the chief of the police, he threatens to separate them if they don't attend a police partner therapy session, which is so funny if you think about it. I don't know if that's real or not. I can't imagine.
It's on every police like kind of drama on TV.
Yeah, they
too.
do a police partner therapy
Even
session.
Even Hawaii 5-0 did it, yes.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny though, because I was like, okay, so they have to go to this therapy session. And then during that chase though, when they were catching that other bad guy, again, lots of little Easter eggs probably in the background of this when they're running through the whole city.
Right.
Judy has probable belief that a snake may be infiltrating the Zootennial Gala, which is a 100-year celebration since Zootopia was founded. Now, the important things to note here is that in the first Zootopia, again, when I was rewatching the first Zootopia, I did notice this, even way back when we watched it back in like 2016, 2017 when I watched it, that there are no reptiles in Zootopia. And I did notice that in the sense that Zootopia is basically all mammals. And so, and again, even when I was watching it, I realized there's no reptiles and no water animals specifically in Zootopia. Either? There's no birds either, but we'll get to that towards the end. Yeah, but reptiles was the one I remember the first time around that I noticed, and then water animals as well was the first thing that I noticed. But again, I also didn't think much of it, again, in the first movie, because I was like, I don't know, it's like a lot's happening again. There's a lot on the screen.
Assume it's a movie about mammals.
Yeah, it's just fun. So I just didn't, again, I just didn't even really think about it until afterwards. I was like, wow, there were no reptiles in like any of the scenes. There's mainly just mammals for the most part. And another thing that I thought about, even when I rewatched the first movie recently, is that I was wondering how the walls between the different lands worked. So for instance, like Tundra Town and like the rainforest are right next to each other. So I'm like, how does the snow just stay in like Tundra Town and then like the desert just has no snow, right? And I thought about that. And what's really funny is that this movie answers that, which I think is so, that's literally what the plot of this movie is about, is like has to do with how the walls work. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny, because I was just something I was like, wow, it's like, you know, to a certain extent, you're like, oh, it's just magic, like whatever, we're in a magical fictional movie, right? So, but no, there is a reason how the walls work, right? So anyway, that's just two things I noticed. But again, just know, again, there's no reptiles or water animals. Water animals are not going to be in this movie, but no reptiles. So when Judy finds the snake skin, she's saying, it's like, all right, why is the snake skin here? And again, she thinks that maybe it's going to have to do with the Zootennial Gala. So Nick wants to stay low after getting in trouble with Chief Bogo, but Judy insists that they attend this gala to see if the snake will be there. And again, this is where you start to see not necessarily conflict, but you can see how Nick is like, no, like I think we should lay low. Like it's fine. We need to save yourself, save myself, myself type thing. But again, Judy kind of has that hero complex where she's like, no, it's like, we have to do this. We have to save the city. So they go to the gala, and the gala is hosted by the Linksley family, which is a family of like lynx cats, essentially like the wintry lynx cats that are really, really big and fluffy. Yeah. And they are considered to be the founding family of Zootopia. And so Judy runs into Paubert, who is the youngest. So there's like the dad basically, and then he has 3 kids, it seems like. So Paubert is like the youngest of the sons, but he's still like an adult, but he's like the youngest of like the other siblings though, at least. Okay. And he's kind of awkward. He's very nice, but he's also very clearly like the black sheep of the family. They kind of like push him to the side type of thing. But Nick is the one who actually sees, because again, Nick doesn't believe anything of this, but he's actually one who sees the hooded figure in the chandelier. And he warns Judy moments before a pit viper makes a move to steal the Linksley journal. This journal is the journal that details the creation of the weather walls, which is how Zootopia was created. So it all goes back to like Zootopia was created with the science, so to speak, behind the weather walls, and the Linksley, I guess I'm assuming he's a grandfather, I'm not really sure, they don't really say necessarily, but it's the Linksley family who, again, they are the ones who created the weather walls, and the journal is just depicting how the weather walls work and all that stuff and how they work today, basically. So the pit viper makes a move to steal the journal. Judy catches up with the snake, but the snake quickly tells her that snakes are not bad animals and that he needs the journal to prove his family's innocence. And so right as she's kind of like hearing him out, because she's like, what are you saying? Like, what do you mean? Nick catches up with them and he knocks the snake out because like he doesn't realize like what they were talking about, obviously. So knocks the snake out. And then through a series of misunderstandings I won't get into necessarily, the Linksley family then frame Judy for fanging, I say in quotes, Chief Bogo. So basically, like, so the snake by accident with his, because he's a pit viper, so they're venomous. He by accident fangs the chief of police with one of his fangs from his mouth, but he didn't mean to do it though. He kind of like fell on him, and so he fanged him. So Chief Bogo passed out. So when Judy's trying to get the fang out of him, the Linksleys frame as if she was stabbing Chief Bogo with the fang, and they say that Nick and Judy are working with the snake, and she's just like, we're not, that's not what happened, obviously. But of course now they're on the run, right? But as Nick and Judy escape, the snake also, at this point we don't know his name yet, that's why I'm just calling him the snake. His name is Gary, but we will find that out later on. I guess you can just call him Gary. But Gary escapes with this mysteriously hooded figure on a moped. I kid you not, on a moped, which is so funny if you think about it.
I saw that on a commercial. Yeah. Okay.
They escape on a moped, and then now Nick and Judy are also on the run too. And now all of ZPD is hunting them down and hunting the snake down too, because they're like, Judy and Nick are traitors, all this stuff. Right. And Nick and Judy were also kind of the outcasts too anyway, right? Because all these other animals are larger physically animals. A lot of them were like the predator type animals. Not all of them. There were zebras and stuff as well. But again, they were always the ones that had to try a little bit harder type of thing. And so they end up getting caught up with Mr. Big, who is the mole from the first film. So he's like the mafia boss type character from the first film.
I remember him. Okay.
Yep. So him and his daughter, and they're all back too for the second film as well. But anyway, they have like a cute little scene, but basically he helps them say, he's like, all right, if you want to leave the city, like we have a guy who'll take you out of the city. You can lay low for a while, let this blow over, and all will be good. And Nick is like, perfect, let's do that. He's like, let's just let this blow over. And Judy's like, no. And she's like, give me 24 hours. She's like, give me 24 hours to see if I can do, if we can prove this to be real or whatever. Right. And because I mean, like now they did prove there was a snake in the city, right? Because remember, snakes and reptiles were banned from the city. Yeah. So now they prove that there's a snake in the city. She's like, no, we need to save the city type of thing, whatever. So Nick is like, all right, 24 hours, right? And then the rest of the movie is going to take place in 24 hours. So a lot is happening in these movies, that's for sure. We're moving quick in these cases. Kind of like any crime drama. It's like
right, crime dramas. They all take place right there.
Yeah, they solve the case immediately. Does not takes
not like
no
the
time.
normal life.
So Mr. Big either offers that, but otherwise he helps them by connecting them to a beaver named Nibbles Maplestick, who is a conspiracy theorist. And then Nibbles is a very funny character, supposed to be one of those eccentric type of characters, I would say. And Nibbles was in earlier in the film too, where they're listening to like a podcast of Nibbles talking about like why snakes left and everything and the theory behind snakes. Essentially, in their history books as of right now, the Linksleys, they created the journal, and then right as they were building the creation of Zootopia, a snake and killed a tortoise that was the maid basically of the Linksley family. And so because of this murder, everyone kind of turned on the snakes, and then in turn turned on all the reptiles. So right as Zootopia was being created, all the snakes and reptiles were outcasted because of this murder that happened essentially. But Nibbles had said it's like there's a lot of like fishy things that kind of happened on with the murder that no one knows for sure like what happened, that's just a story they believe, and why there are no reptiles in Zootopia. But that's just important because that's going to come back later. But anyway, so they say like we need to talk to a reptile to know where are the snakes, like where are they now? So Nibbles is like, I know a place, and Nibbles takes them to Marsh Market. So when we get to Marsh Market, this is where there's a lot of fun Easter eggs. I have a thing at the end for fun facts that's going to have all the Easter eggs in it, but Marsh Market is a great little place, right? This is the cross between, I would say, land animals and sea animals. So for instance, there's a lot of walruses here, sea lions, like seals in general, like animals kind of like that, I would say. But then at one point they go past this bar and there's a dolphin like in the bar because dolphins are technically mammals.
Right.
But it was just kind of funny though, is in the thing, because again, I've always wondered, like, where are the water animals in this world? Like, is there going to be like an underwater city that we can go visit one day in this world, just, you know, just for fun? But it's funny seeing the dolphin because I'm like, there are water animals. And I will say too, of course, one of the other things I've always wondered about Zootopia, to digress for one second, even in the first movie, was like, how do the animals eat, I guess? Because obviously they say like the predators, like in the first movie, the predators have surpassed their animalistic instincts and stuff and how we coexist. But I'm like, but they're still carnivores. So in my head, I'm like, so what do they eat then? And you never really see the animals eat real food. You always see them eat like snacks or treats, like sweets type of thing, but not real food. But for instance, in Marsh Market, one of the walruses come up and he gives them like a dead fish. So the fish is very clearly not alive. It's not like a Zootopia animal. So I'm like, all right, so this fish is just being eaten by the walrus. So I'm like, so does that mean the other carnivore animals still eat meat? And I'm like, well, then where does the meat come from? Okay. So I'm not sure. It's just questions that I've had that obviously the movie does not address.
Circle of life is still happening. It's just not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, and it's interesting in this sense too. So for instance, the next Pixar film that's coming out is called Hoppers. That's coming out in March. And in Hoppers, in the trailer of the movie, another beaver, funny enough, the beaver is saying, it's like, oh yeah, like one of the rules of our pond is that like when you gotta eat, you eat. And then it's like it shows like an animal like eating a worm or something like that. So it's like, oh yeah, like all the animals, carnivore or herbivore, coexist because when you gotta eat, you eat. But in Zootopia, I'm like, well, how does that work? So it's never fully addressed how the carnivores eat. But I don't know. And again, especially too in this movie, when you see another animal eat a fish, I'm like, all right, well, that fish was that talking fish or was that just a fish?
Just a fish.
Like, I don't know. So it's just interesting. But anyway, let's get back to Marsh Market.
Most people are sitting in that movie just saying, okay, not thinking about that.
So I know, but it's just things that you just think about, just because I just think the world is so fun, right? It's like, that's why I'm thinking about it, because I just love the world. But all right, so back in Marsh Market. So anyway, so Nibbles basically ends up taking them to this like kind of this bar, and in the bar it's all reptiles, every reptile you can think of, right? All these geckos and lizards. There's no snakes, but it's all different types of reptiles. It's actually really cool. I love this scene a lot. And it's funny because like a lot of the classic reptile things, and like there was a whole thing before that Nick was saying he was afraid of snakes, which is kind of funny if you think about it, because it's a common fear for people to be afraid of reptiles or snakes. But he says that he's afraid of snakes, but and again, it's like one of those things that again Zootopia I think addresses, you know, one of those ethical theories of like racism within the movie, right? Because in their
snakes
world,
really aren't bad, but
it's like snakes aren't actually a snake in their world. Like that's just like if it was translated to humans, it would just be a different race of a person, so to speak.
Right.
So him being like, I'm afraid of snakes, like we're all prejudiced towards snakes or reptiles, is like that's like how people can be prejudiced towards other ethical
even really
groups.
Knowing them. Right.
So so I think it's interesting in that sense. But again, they kind of play with it in a sense, especially to make it kid friendly, because like Nick goes up to, he steps on one of the reptile's tails by accident, and then the tail just falls off, right? So then he's like, oh my gosh, and the reptile turns around, she's like, oh, it's all good, right? Because there are a lot of reptiles where their tails can just fall off and they'll just regrow them. So again, they play around a lot of things like that in this scene too. So it's still very playful and like still meant for kids. But anyway, though, so they end up meeting with this, like I think it's called a basilisk lizard or something like that. What is he? I have it down here. Nope, don't have it down there. I don't know what he is. But anyway, they end up meeting with this like basilisk-sized lizard or gecko named Jesus. Jesus tells them that the journal that they're after, right? So this whole time, so I guess I forgot to say that Judy, when the snake escaped before, Judy actually was one who got the journal. So she has the journal, and she was wondering the whole time, why does the journal have a metal cover? Like the whole journal is just a metal cover. And she flipped through the journal, but it's just about the creation of the weather walls. So Jesus tells her that the journal holds a key to the past that calls all reptiles to be outcasts. So, and they're saying too, it's just like, it's like what is in this journal that we can't see, basically. And then Jesus also reveals that the reptiles did have an original home, like they were going to have like in all the different sectors of the city for the different animals. The reptiles did have a home, but it was buried underneath Tundra Town. It was buried underneath the snow. So that's the main two things we basically get for him, that the journal holds something and that the original reptile home was buried under Tundra Town. So during this scene, ZPT then invades all of Marsh Market, so then they're fully on the run again. The snake ends up coming back to Gary. He gets the journal back, and then they are going after so they're being chased by ZPT, and then Judy and Nick are chasing the snake, right? So you got this big chase scene. Big crazy chase scene. As they're going after it, they end up jumping through this tube that says like no mammals, basically, because it's all water, so you're gonna run out of air. So they jump through it though. They make it almost to the end with the snake, but then they have to leave because they're literally running out of air. They're both about to pass out, so Nick saves them. And then they end up arguing about the case then afterwards, because again, now they're kind of on two different sides, because Nick's like, we almost just died, like you almost just died. He's like, that's not good. It's like, is this case worth your life specifically? Yeah. And Judy is saying like, this is bigger than all of us. If this is about the reptiles, she was like, if the reptiles can be proven innocent, like that's a whole race of people that can come back to Zootopia for if they were framed for something, right? So again, they get into this argument. They end up breaking the little carrot pen from the first movie, so it's very emotional in that sense. So they end up getting into this house, and Judy finds more, again, kind of like conspiracy theorist type things in the house of saying like what really happened, again, with that murder, that the snake murdered the tortoise, like all this stuff that kind of, goes along there. And then ZPT, of course, still has to catch up with them. Long story short, because this is a very long scene, Judy is saved by the snake and his friend, and Nick gets arrested. So they get separated.
Oh, wow,
this scene.
okay.
Right, that's just really summing it up in one sentence, because a lot happened. It's like a 10-minute scene. Sum it up in one sentence, watch the movie, you want to see the whole scene. Right. So I'm just jumping ahead here, but just to sum up Nick's part of the story, because now they're separated. Nick will go to jail. He will eventually escape jail with Nibbles, the beaver, right? So then the beaver will help him get him out. It's funny because he does ask Nibbles, like, why are you in jail? And he's like, I got arrested. Never says why. We don't know what happened when Nibbles is in jail. But Nibbles is in jail too. It helps getting him out. And Nick ends up admitting to Nibbles, kind of, coming clean, being like admitting that as a fox, he's always been a solitary animal, because foxes are solitary animals. So in his heart, he's just afraid of losing Judy. And he has a hard time admitting to the fact that Judy has become like his real partner, right? It's like someone that actually cares about. He doesn't want to admit to caring about her so much as a solitary animal because it's awkward for him. Again, he has all this emotional trauma from his childhood and stuff like that he talks about. He says he doesn't know how to tell her that he's afraid of losing her. And that's why, he's trying to save her. That's why I keep saying her specifically he's trying to save, because he doesn't want anything to happen to her, right? So again, he kind of comes to that realization and realizes that he's going to have to tell her that eventually. But all right, let's jump back to Judy, because she's the one that has like the true plot in here right now. So the snake's friend, the hooded figure, he ends up being Pauber, the youngest of the Linksley family. So the youngest Linksley family, he's there.
Okay.
So the backstory to that is that when they were going to do the Zootennial, they knew the journal was going to be on display. So Gary had sent this note to the Linksley family saying like, we want the journal back, or else type of thing, right? But Pauber is the one who does the mailing for his family, because again, he's the lowest on the rung. So he got the mail. He realized what was going on. He reached out to Gary. They decided, and then essentially, long story short, what we find out is that the Linksleys, is that Gary's grandmother, Agnes, was the true founder of Zootopia and the creation of the weather walls. She was the one who got the patent for the weather walls first from whoever would have been, I guess, way back when.
When they stole it.
And what happened was that she needed a partner to help fund the weather walls. She went to the Linksley family. When the Linksley family saw that, they didn't like reptiles, so they decided to frame Agnes specifically for the murder of their maid, the tortoise. So they used the venom from the snakes. They stabbed the tortoise essentially, then framed her for it, just to create her as an outcast, and then create all reptiles as an outcast. And then that way, then they redid the patent and gave the patent to themselves, so then they could be the heroes, so to speak, and the founders of Zootopia. And so the reason why the cover of the journal is metal is because when you heat the metal journal, you can see a hidden message within the journal that only pit vipers can see. And the whole time, like as we're learning this, Judy was saying, she's like, why was there a secret message in a metal journal that only snakes can see? Like, why would the Linksleys put that into their journal? And then she realized the journal was never the Linksleys. It was always belonged to the snakes, or specifically to Gary's family. His last name is DeSnake, like DE' snake. So it's kind of, it's like, yeah, Gary DeSnake. Yeah, that's literally his name. There was actually a funny scene where she asked him, like, what's your name? He's like, Gary DeSnake. And she's like, what's your last name? DeSnake. It's like, oh my God.
It's like an Abbott and Costello routine. Okay.
It was quite, even in the moment, it's quite funny when that happened. The whole theater laughed at that. And I knew his name from going into the film because I'd seen a lot of the trailer stuff that his name was Gary DeSnake. But yeah, so again, the journal belonged to the DeSnakes. So again, now we find out like that's why he's saying the journal will clear the name, because within the journal, what was on the hidden message on the journal map that only Gary or like another pit viper could see is a map of the original Zootopia. And within that map was where the original reptile town was going to be, because he says that he believes that his great grandmother Agnes, like she still had the original patent that she had gotten way back when, and that she hid it in her house from where the original reptile town was. But he said this whole time though, for the last 100 years, no one knew where the town was because it got buried in Tundra Town. So it could be anywhere in Tundra Town under the snow. So again, reptiles as cold-blooded animals can't go into cold environments, right? They always live in like a warm environment. So he said they need to know exactly where it is so they can go right there, get the patent, and then prove his family's innocence. And so that's the whole thing, right? So I really liked it because I thought it was a really interesting plot how they did that. And you kind of always knew from the start that the snakes were going to be the good guys, so to speak. Like it was pretty clear.
There was some kind of
setup. Even before when the Linksleys were framing Judy and Nick, it was pretty clear that they were the bad guys, right? So it's like very clear, like there's something wrong here, but you didn't know what it was going to be, right? And I will say my only thing about that is that as a cat person, I'm always very pro cat. So I generally dislike when cats are the bad guys. So I don't really love that the Lynxes as a cat family are the bad guys in the movie, but they are, unfortunately. So again, in a general sense, I typically don't like that. So that's the only thing I didn't really like of the movie, that the cats are the bad guys as a pro cat person. So, all right. So now they have to find out so now they know where the reptile village is. And on top of the reptile village, they kind of had like a light, sort of almost like a lighthouse, but they weren't anywhere near water. So again, it was kind of like a lookout house, basically, at a light. And so they're in their theory, they decide to turn the electricity back on in the reptile town. So once they turn the lights on, they'll be able to see physically where it is in Tundra Town, so they can go right there, right? So now they're trying to race towards the weather wall to go to one of the regional weather walls where like the electricity is and stuff. They're going there, and it's like a whole race, right? Now ZPT's chasing them. Nick and Nibbles are also trying to get there too. So they all kind of get to the weather wall right at the same time. And at this moment, like once you kind of find out the father, Linksley, he's like, I know why they're going to the weather wall, because he realizes they're going to turn the electricity back on and find the
so he
original reptile
realizes
town.
he's got to stop them.
So he knows that. So as soon as we get here, right, we get to where the electricity is. They turn the electricity on. As soon as all this happens, Paul Bert turns around and then stabs Judy with the snake venom. And so Paul Bert betrays them. A lot of people said they didn't see that coming, that Paul Bert betraying them. And his whole character just flips, right? And he says, like, he tells Judy, he's like, you know what it's like to be the underdog, right? The black sheep of the family. He was like, if I can destroy the original patent, my family will love me. Like, they'll accept me finally.
Look at that.
And so he turns on them. And the whole thing too, so Gary had said, like, when he first got with Judy, being like, it's like if something, like, I fanged you by accident, he was like, I have my little anti-venom pen with me, right? So it's like, you can just use the anti-venom pen straight to the heart and then you'll be fine. And so Paul Bert takes the anti-venom, he has like multiple anti-venom pens. He takes all the anti-venom pens. There's a huge fight scene that ensues with both Nick and the ZPT and Paul Bert. Whole thing, again, I'm not going to go into details about that. And also I say too, so Judy gets stabbed and then Paul Bert threw Gary out into the snow. And again, as a cold-blooded creature, he's like freezing to death basically because he can't really move in the snow. And so, however, though, Gary is able to get close enough to Judy and he curls around Judy. And so from her body heat, from her warmth, he's able to warm up basically just enough so that he can get the anti-venom pen from Nick and then stab her basically with the anti-venom pen so then she survives. And so meanwhile, Nick is fighting off Paul Bert. Again, he ends up winning, of course. And then Nick and Judy, and then it's funny because Paul Bert falls down from Tundra Town. So you think he died. He doesn't. He's going to come back. Don't worry. So Nick and Judy end up reconciling. It's a very heartwarming scene that he admits again to losing her and that he's very happy that he finally is part of a pack. He's never been part of a pack and she's his pack. And Judy says too that she understands that she has this bunny hero complex, that she feels like she's always going to feel like she's a failure. So it's like she makes all these reckless decisions, and she does. She makes some crazy reckless decisions in this movie. And she says she understands she does it because she doesn't want to be a failure and that she has to be the hero to like keep proving herself basically. But she realizes that Nick has never seen her as a failure, that he never would see her as a failure, that everything that she does is like, that's not how you see me. And she's like, you've become my fluffle, which is a group of rabbits, right? So they reconcile basically and realizing, no, we're both here for each other. But again, they both have their own little complexes in their own sense. All right, so now we're gonna do another long story short, because again, long story short, it's like they basically get to the Gary's grandmother place. It's very touching. They find the patent. There's more stuff that kind of happens in between because Paul Bert comes back and he chases them through a hedge maze and stuff like that. I'll get to that in the fun facts. But yeah, they find the patent and they are able to welcome back the snakes into Zootopia. Of course, Nick and Judy are cleared of the charges that they had against them for fanging Chief Bogo and stuff. Yeah. And it's a very happy scene. And then they have like this, and then they decide too that they're going to stay partners is the thing, right? It's like that was the whole thing. It's like, no, we're partners for life type of thing, whatever it may be. And then in the very end credit scene, we see a feather land on the windowsill. So it's kind of alluding to the idea that, again, there are no birds in Zootopia, like we said before. There was no reptiles, no water animals, and no birds. So is the next movie going to be about birds? Oh, okay. And it's funny because I saw someone theorize as well that the first Zootopia movie was the introduction to the world. The second movie, this one, was the history of the city. And there's a third one going to take us outside of the city, or like why things, like in the city versus outside of the city. Because in theory, Judy is from outside the city, right? She's from the Bunny Hill place or the Burrow,
Maybe
the Burrow
how
Hill
they
place.
integrate themselves into the rest of the world.
Yeah, so again, it's interesting, because again, there are no birds here. And I did notice that there's no birds, there's no flying animals in this city. And I did wonder, how come there's no birds? So it's like, you do wonder that.
It's just a teaser. Here we come again.
Yeah, so it's like, is there going to be another case where like the birds got outcasted too for some reason? Or do the birds have their own city because they have their own way of life since they do fly, right? Okay. So it's like a different way of life with birds. But just really interesting though. So yeah, so overall, again, a really, really fun movie.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's a super fun movie, honestly. I look forward, honestly, to rewatching this one specifically, just to like pause it and look through all the little background things. Again, very touching too. So all right, let's get into a few of the fun facts here, because there were so many cameo roles in this movie overall that a lot of them were just really fun. So I just thought I'd just go through some of them. So first up, we had Bob Iger. So Bob Iger himself was in the movie. He played Bob Tiger. Okay. And he was a tiger weather forecaster that we would see a few times. There's Amanda Gorman, who is an activist, and she played D'Angelo Bambino, who is a giraffe reporter. So again, a lot of people, what they do in real life is kind of what they did in the movie, which was fun. We had Ed Sheeran, who played Ed Sheeran, Ed Shearin. He played a sheep. So there's a scene where the sheeps are getting sheared, and so he plays one of the sheeps is getting sheared. He does the voice for it. There's Michael J. Fox, and he plays Michael J. Fox. He plays a fox in the movie. Okay. He's actually a fox prisoner, and so he's in prison for it, which I thought was funny. Okay. There's Mark Smith, and he plays Officer McCorn. So Mark Smith starred as Rhino in Gladiator, and he plays a black Rhino police officer. So a black Rhino, he plays a police officer basically as Officer McCorn, which I thought was funny. There's Robert Irwin, so Steve Irwin's son, Robert Irwin. Yeah. He played Robert Irwin, who is a koala travel agent. He only has a very small part at the end of the film, but it is funny though. He's like, give us four thumbs up, right? So then we have Anika Noni Rose, who is the voice of Tiana, and she played in the Squeal of Fortune Mouse, which was like one of the commercials that was in the movie. Then Ollie Cravalho, who is the voice of Moana, she voiced the anti-venom pen, which I thought was funny because it's just like one line that's said multiple times. It's like stab me straight to the heart type of thing, and that was Ollie, which I thought was cute. And then one of the ones I thought was the funniest was Dwayne Johnson played Zeke. I didn't even know this character said any words in this movie because Zeke is a Deke, who's like a small little mammal. He got stuck in a tuba in the opening scene, and it's so funny because I don't even think he said any words, and I was just like, wait, that was Dwayne Johnson. And then we also had Patrick Warburton, and he played Brian Windancer, who is the new mayor of the town. So of course in the first movie both mayors went to prison, right? So we had to get a new mayor. And it's funny because when he's the new mayor, he plays his horse mayor, right? And it was funny in the sense too that when he starts speaking, I recognized his voice instantly, but I couldn't place it right away. And I was like, oh, because he does the pre-show to Soren. So that's where I recognized his voice as the pre-show to Soren. So I thought that was funny. But he
has a very recognizable voice.
All right, so now let's go through just some quick other movie references that are within this movie. So first up in Marsh Market, there is a sign for Ariel's Grotto, which I thought was really cute. There's also a scene too where there's these two hippo police officers that are chasing them. They turn around and they throw, I think they throw food into the water. I can't remember what. They throw something into the water. All the hippos immediately just start eating it, but it's kind of like Hungry Hippo. If you played that game as a child, it looks just like that. The way that the hippos start attacking the food is like the Hungry Hippo. So there's another, then this is not a Disney reference, but again, so I kind of skipped over it, but again, Paul Bert Bell, and then he survived those. So as they're trying to get to the original reptile town, he ends up chasing them, and then he's trying to get there first, right? So he ends up thwarting them, and he's chasing them, and he goes into this hedge. And so there's a lot of scenes in here that's a direct reference to The Shining. If you've seen The Shining.
I've never seen The Shining.
So the way he looks, it's like the way he's dragging the weapon that he has, like certain movements that he does. It's exactly what happens at the end of The Shining when that character also goes into the hedge maze. So I just thought that was funny because a lot of people caught that. I didn't catch that right away because I haven't seen The Shining in years, honestly. I've only seen that movie once.
I've never seen it, so I wouldn't.
It's funny. I could tell it was a reference to something, but I just didn't know what it was at the time. Again, we had the Ratatouille reference, which is really fun. Another reference was there is a fish or food sign in March Market. There are a lot of things in March Market, so fish or food, which is funny because they are eating the fish, which I think is funny. Yeah. And then one of the other ones here we have as well. So when they are traveling from Marsh Market to where that bar with the reptiles were, they end up riding a walrus, which I think is really funny. They say something about how they're partners, and the walrus takes it to be romantic partners. So he turns on all these lights around them to make it romantic, and then Bella Notte starts playing, which is a song from Lady and the Tramp.
Right, Lady and the Tramp.
And I guess that is one of the last things that I'll reference here for the movie is that a lot of people do ship Nick and Judy together as a romantic couple. Now, I personally do not ship them together. I think I love them as friends personally, but there are a lot of, I would say it's not very heavy-handed at all, I would say overall, that if they are going to be romantic partners or not in the future. There's little hints here and there in the way that they look each other and stuff, but I would say it's not as if it's like, oh, it's like the next movie they're going to be together. Like, I'm not sure. But there are a lot of shippers out there who really ship them and are digging deep into some of these animated moments between the two of them. But I personally do not ship them as a romantic couple. I do ship them just as friends as partners, which is just me personally. But again, if they end up together, perhaps they'll be very cute though overall. But again, the Bella Notte thing was a lot of people saying, it's like, this is it, see? It's just like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I think it's just supposed to be funny, right? It's like, Nibbles was right there too. It's not like they were by themselves.
It's supposed to be just something you got to connect.
I know. But overall, all right, so that overall is my movie review of Zootopia 2. Again, I really loved the movie. I thought it was really great. Again, a lot of other people did too, and it's doing overall both in box office, critic reviews, and even people have seen it. And as well, good timing as well, because that new show in the Tree of Life in Animal Kingdom is also open to Zootopia. Right. I've heard very positive things about the show itself. I actually don't know anything about that show or what it's about. So one day when we see it, well, I'll know more about it.
We'll know more about it.
Yeah, but I just heard that people like it and they said it was good. It was very cute. So one day we'll see that too. All right, yes, that is Zootopia 2. So definitely let us know, have you seen Zootopia 2 yet? Are you going to see it in theaters? Are you going to wait for it to be on Disney Plus? Definitely would love to know your thoughts. We will have our Instagram linked in the description of this podcast where you can send us a DM or comment on the specific Instagram post that we'll have for this Instagram. So looking forward to hear that. We do just have a little bit of Disney news right now. So just one thing I have here. So the new Walt Disney World annual pass holder magnets will be available from December 3rd to December 10th. So just a few days, like 1 week that they'll be available. They're going to have 3 of them. So it's going to be Stitch, Hey Hey, and Timon and Pumbaa. And you'll be able to pick these up in Animal Kingdom. So again, you can see the Zootopia show in Animal Kingdom too when you go pick up your magnet at the Discovery Trading Company. So yeah, so some of the fan favorites are back. All right, in our next segment, we'll do some Disney birthdays. So first up on December 3rd is Natasha Romanoff's birthday. She's the only Disney one that we actually have this week. But then in our personalized, on December 1st, we have my cousin Lisa. So happy birthday to my cousin Lisa. And on December 6th is my aunt's birthday, my Aunt Barbara, and my Aunt Kathleen. So happy birthday as well to them too. All right, and that leaves us with our final our final segment of today's podcast, our Disney memory. Do you have a memory for today's podcast?
No, I don't really have a memory because I didn't remember Zootopia very well. And I didn't see the movie. So I will leave the memory to you today.
I feel like, honestly, my biggest memory of this was the shock every time I Google, like, top grossing films, right, ever. And whenever I see Zootopia on the list, I'm like, wow, I can't believe Zootopia made over $1 billion.
Well, you know,
like
you
it just
said,
shocks me every time I see it.
Obviously China helped that, but I think it's just like you said, an entertaining movie. And all of the running themes, as I'm listening to you talk, is about every crime drama show you've ever watched or every crime movie you've ever watched, like especially the ones that are comedic crime movies where something's, you know, somebody's got to go find out what happened or what's done. And the characters themselves are just endearing and cute and funny and whatever. So you put that all together and put it on a Thanksgiving weekend, like you said, where people are off and kids are off from school and the families are all visiting and want to do something. You got a perfect box office hit.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's fine. I just quickly Googled the list of highest grossing films. It's not within the top 50. So it's still grossed over $1 million, but not in the top 50.
Right.
Do you know what the number one is? The highest grossing film of all time ever.
Titanic?
No, not Titanic. Titanic is number 4.
Oh, it's close. Okay. What is it?
It's Avatar, the first Avatar
movie. Oh, wow.
Movie, yeah.
Okay.
The first Avatar movie. Do you know what the second one is?
I haven't seen either one. No.
The second one is Avengers Endgame. And then the third one is Avatar, The Way of Water.
Oh, wow. So Avatar made 2. And then,
yeah. So
okay, I wasn't
Avatar,
too far off.
Avatar Fire and Ash is going to have big shoes to film. I did see that James Cameron had said that if Avatar Fire, like, it costs a lot of money to make Avatar Fire and Ash. He said if it doesn't make another small fortune back, he says that this may be the last one.
Oh, okay.
I think
but
these
if it
movies
makes a small fortune back, yeah, it's like for the next one.
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be 5 in the original, projection of it.
I could see that though if they lose interest in making all this, spending all this money.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's a lot of. I mean, like the whole movie CGI, right? It's like it's very expensive to make, so it makes sense. It's like they need to make the money back for it to be successful. But yeah, just crazy sometimes when you see that. So all right, and then the other movie that is number 5 is actually a movie that came out this year. It's called Nazaha 2, which is a Chinese animated fantasy film, which is incredible that it made over $2.2 billion in 2025.
I'm sure that they had something to do with that too.
I know, right? So $2.2 billion in China. Wow. So, and then the next is Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and then Avengers: Infinity War, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Inside Out 2. I didn't know Inside Out 2 was number 9.
Wow, okay.
And then number 10 is Jurassic World.
Okay.
And then number 11 is The Lion King. So that's highest grossing films. But if you go by highest grossing films, as of 2024, so not including 2025, adjusted for inflation, Avatar is number 2, Titanic is number 3, Star Wars is number 4. And you know what number 1 is? Still after all this time, I feel like this movie is always going to be number 1 no matter what. It's Gone with the Wind. So
oh, really?
Adjusted for inflation. Gone with the Wind is still number 1 after all this time.
Have you ever seen Gone with the Wind?
I have. Okay. I did when I was in high school, and then I watched it again when I was in college.
Okay, yeah.
But it's been 10 years now since I watched it. Probably.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've watched it too, but it was an amazing movie.
Yeah, and I do love seeing like these lists, and then always seeing like adjusted for inflation. Gone with the Wind made the money it made in 2024, it would have made $4.4 billion, which is wild. Yeah,
currently, wow.
And it's like that's 400 million more than Avatar even, because Avatar is only $4 billion.
Amazing.
So, all right, editing Amanda popping in to say that the new stats are in. Zootopia 2 opened with $556 million worldwide, and which included $272 million in China and $158 million in the US, and it is now holds the biggest global opening for an animated film, as well as being the 4th biggest global opening of all time. So pretty impressive overall that Zootopia is doing so well. So yeah, I'm really excited for, honestly, because I really love this film and I thought it was really great. So exciting that it's seeing to do well. I'm sure when it does its full theatrical run, it's probably, I'm assuming it's going to make more than $1 billion again. I guess we'll see. So we'll stick around to find out. But all right, we digress. That was just a little fun thing just about the movies. It was just fun to see that. Again, we'll probably do that again when Avatar Fire and Ash comes out, because I'm assuming some of these movies get knocked down for Avatar Fire and Ash to be lifted up. So, all right, thanks everyone for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Make sure you give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Again, let us know what you thought of Zootopia 2. Did you like it better than Zootopia 1? Did you like Zootopia two better. Honestly, I like them both pretty much the same to a certain extent.
We'll look forward to seeing
Have you
it.
seen the show in Animal Kingdom? Would love to know your thoughts on that too. Do you ship Jude and Nick together as a romantic couple or just as friends? I would love to know that too. But definitely let us know. But until then, we'll see you next time.